Vince, thank you for tuning in to episode 4 of Entertain the Geeky, your source for nerd news. This is Chris.
And I'm Roger.
And we've got a special guest today.
Kevin.
Kevin's here to talk with us about Magic.
You know, only the biggest card game known to man right now, outside of Gin Rummy.
Cracks.
And that it is. Well, so right now what we got going on is the new Eldritch Moon spoilers were released this week. And, you know, Kevin's kind of a genius when it comes to Magic. He's the only judge I know that can piss me off and make me happy at the same time. So I figured we'd turn to the expert here on a few of the spoilers. And then we'll kind of just talk about them a little bit.
Well, yeah, and before we even get into that, tell us a little bit about yourself. You're a what level judge?
I'm a level 1 judge. Been playing Magic for about 15 years, judging for about 2.5, 3, somewhere in there.
3 years as a judge, huh? How many people have you made mad in that 3 years?
All of them.
Other than Matt Trunk?
Other than a guy named Matt Trump.
Oh, come on now. Don't name drop.
I mean, he has made him mad before. But how many? Like, so let me ask you a question. As a judge, when you go into an event like that and you have someone that you know is in the wrong, like they are in the wrong, but they are so convinced that they're right, what is the best way to handle that? Because, you know, you're playing for actual prizes. You're not playing for cards at some of these high-level events.
I mean, yeah, and some of them it's a chance to go to a higher-level event.
Like a trip to Alaska or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, whatever.
You
Hawaii for state finals.
Yeah, for some reason, I don't think there's ever going to be a pro tour in Alaska.
It would be awesome if there was. I could go salmon fishing.
It would piss a bunch of people off. The Magic community would rage so hard.
Would they?
I would be okay with it.
I think
I'm a cold
everyone
weather
would.
person.
Fuck, I doubt it.
So how do you handle that when, as a judge, you walk up and the guy is wrong, but he believes in his heart of hearts that he's right, and he's pretty irate about it?
The easiest thing to do is start off the day making sure you have a phone or tablet with you that has access to Oracle text and the comprehensive rules. Because a lot of times in those kind of situations, if you can cite the documents, they get over being mad really fast. Because then they realize they're wrong, and there's not much they can do about it.
So what is it that you have to do to become a judge of Magic? Like, does it take, hey, I've been playing for so many years, or can somebody that's new to it read through the rules, all 6 million of them, and just say, hey, I've got this, I'm a judge?
What you have to do to become a judge is you actually have to take a certification exam, which has to be proctored by another judge of a higher level.
So is it like a college course that you have to engage in?
It's not that extensive.
Okay.
Is it more like a high school course, you know, like art in high school?
Is this like gym?
Well, I mean, it's one of those things. The higher level judge who has to proctor the exam, a lot of times it's someone that they've mentored towards becoming a judge. Like, even though I didn't proctor the exam, I've mentored someone to becoming a judge. And he's quite the character.
Fair enough.
But mostly it's, if they see the potential in someone, they'll ask something along the lines of, hey, are you interested in becoming a judge? And if they are...
Is there a great council that oversees this? And they're like, Padawan, are you interested in becoming a judge?
No, it's like the guy I mentored, he came to me and asked about it, and I had him shadow me at a couple of events. And after one of them, he asked me if he thought he would make a good judge, and I told him, if I didn't think you had potential, I wouldn't have even had you shadow me.
Okay.
Well, which brings an interesting point. I mean, you've been playing Magic for 15 years, and you've kind of been the guy that everyone turns to now for the past 3 years, you said. What?
I was a quote-unquote rules guy for my group of friends long before I became a judge.
Well, you weren't official until 3 years ago. So get off your high horse and let's talk official here, okay? I mean, honestly, though...
Bring in the officials on this one.
You've been around for almost 20 years now, which is almost as long as the game has been around.
Yeah.
You know, so you can probably contest to this. What is the state of the actual Magic community right now?
Oh, any community is going to have your obvious outliers on either extreme, but for the most part, in my experience, the Magic community has been extremely welcoming. Most, like, all the friends I've got through Magic are pretty laid back people that I don't mind hanging out with on a regular basis.
And what about the other ones?
Like I said, there's outliers to every extreme.
So what are like, we'll say there's two extremes. We've got our conservative Magic players and our more liberal Magic players.
Why do you got to go with the conservative liberals? Why can't you say there's the douchebags and the nice guys?
Because it's not. There have to be extreme. There have to be more than one or two extremes. And as far as liberal and conservative, I just use those as terms because I think they're funny and political.
But we're not a funny political. We are douchebags and nice guys.
Okay, so what are the extremes here?
Like Roger was saying, you've got the guys who will
just the salty players and the guys that just like, I just fucking love to play. Let's play some Magic.
Right.
Okay.
Roger and I both know several people that fall into both of those categories. Like, you're super nice guys, a lot of them.
And you're one of those super nice guys, by the way.
I don't know.
Oh, dude, he takes any new player under his wing.
Yeah, but they got that Kevin douchiness about them.
That Kevin douchiness. They're like, I know a guy that's a level 1 judge.
Yeah. Yeah. Like Kevin Freeman is the most name-drop person in our local Magic community because he takes all these players under his wings and he gets that Kevin douchiness. Which is fine.
I'm curious what this Kevin douchiness is.
I don't know what. I'm still trying to wrap my head around this.
I tell you what, by the end of the podcast, everyone will know about the Kevin douchiness.
Well, I mean, because I've ran several events, and obviously you were there. Laid back guy, and any questions, like if I didn't know how to do my job, it was like, Kevin.
That's the douchiness. He's doing your job for you.
So he's a douche for helping?
Yes. Okay. You should know your job.
No,
this is why you don't work there anymore.
Why don't you work there, dick?
Even in situations like that, he was learning from it. Because I didn't just straight up do it. I showed him how.
I form habits.
Exactly. Chris is a habit-forming guy.
I learn.
All right, so you've got the nice guys, and then you've got the douchebags.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that the douchebags kind of put a stain on the community?
Well, the douchebags in any community are going to put a stain. But most commonly in Magic, what causes them to get to that point is they've just gotten to the point where they can't have fun playing Magic unless they're winning.
Well, and I feel like that's a huge problem in the Magic community in and of itself, because I've played some competitive Magic almost 10 years ago now. And you had the players that legitimately liked playing the game just because it's a good game, and then you've got the other guys that it's a fucking competition, and I feel like that completely sucks the fun out of a fucking game that's meant to be played at a table. You know what I mean? It's a kitchen table kind of game. And
here's the thing: I'm going to defend the douchebags for a second, which I hate doing.
God.
But I mean, you are playing for, in some cases, thousands of dollars worth of prizes.
Fair enough.
So I get that whole, you're playing for all this money, so you want to be up on the rules. You want to make sure you're playing a fair game. But you don't have to be a dick about it.
I was going to say, and that's completely understandable. Like, if you're playing at a competitive level, obviously you're playing to win. And that is what it is. That's fine. But also, like, you can still enjoy playing the game while playing to win. Like, I don't think I've ever played a game of any sort and been like, I'm just doing this to lose, unless I'm teaching somebody how to play.
Obviously, you never play games with me because I always lose.
That's not true. I've had you beat me in Star Realms, and I've had you beat me in Star Realms.
That's kind of how it goes. And that was a lucky draw. But I've noticed with the Magic, and it's something that I've seen recently, and I'm not going to name any names, but it seems that part of the douchebag community is they're playing the got you game. And for those of you that don't know what the got you game is, it's when you are waiting for your opponent to mess up. Not intentionally. Not like he's cheating. But you're waiting for something like he draws his card too slow, or
he doesn't upkeep right.
He doesn't untap his lands in the order you prefer, and the second he doesn't do it, you are yelling for a judge.
You didn't start on the left-hand side, motherfucker.
Screaming at the top of your lungs for a judge because all of a sudden you just won the game. And I feel that, that's kind of asinine.
I mean, that's not even fun at that point, though. That's just,
I'm pretty sure I know exactly what you're talking about, Roger. Does it involve
being
a certain road
trip
a few weeks ago?
It does, and so being a level 1 judge is really what I'm going with this. How do you stop that? How do we as a community get together and say we have judges for a reason, and that is to make sure the game is played fairly. We want to make sure that you're actually following the rules. And if you're not, call a judge, get your warning, get your ban, get whatever you're going to get. Take your punishment. Be a man or a big girl. Put your pants on and walk out the stage.
Judges don't actually have the power to outright ban somebody.
I will ban you right now.
That's a shop thing, right?
No, I think Roger's referring to an actual DCI ban.
No, I'm more talking about getting you kicked out of the tournament.
Okay, out of a particular tournament, not banning you from Magic the Gathering.
That's a disqualification, not a ban.
And you are banned from this tournament.
Fuck you. No more Magic ever.
But how do you stop? How do we, as a community, and stop this blatant gotcha game, where it's not? We agree that honest mistakes happen, and you should be penalized for honest mistakes. That's fine. But the object of I'm sitting down and playing a game, and I'm going to make my opponent, and I'm going to watch everything he does, and when he makes that kind of grayish area, I'm calling for his blood.
Well,
a while back there was actually a standard deck that 90% of its wins were from the gotcha game.
What deck?
It involved Spirit of the Labyrinth and the Merfolk that you tap, draw a card, discard it. Everyone draws a card and discards a card.
Okay.
And the trick was you would activate the Merfolk's ability on your opponent's upkeep, and then out of habit, they would go to draw for turn. At this time, drawing an extra card was still a game loss.
Okay.
That is bullshit.
That's hilarious.
That is a bullshit troll deck.
Like, back in the day when I quit, there was a Sharam the Hedgeman combo.
Yep.
And it was fantastic. But, it's one of those things you would never really get mad at somebody for playing it, because if you're going to invest in that particular combo, that was a big commitment and it could bite you in the ass potentially. Mm-hmm. But you would have the guys that maybe didn't do the combo right. And at that point, like, you know what they're doing if you're actively involved in Magic. So it's like, let them finish their combo. So what if they put something on the board in an order that maybe they shouldn't have? They knew what was supposed to happen.
Hold on, no. If you're gonna play a deck and you screw up your combo and you do it out of order, that's on you.
I don't even.
I'm talking about the. I play a card so I can scry. I look at you. You give me a non-verbal cue to scry. I scry. Then you're up screaming that you didn't say go ahead. I'm talking about I go to draw a card. And it tips just a little bit too much, and you think I saw two cards, so you jump and scream. I'm talking about the assholes that when you cut a deck and you're shuffling your opponent's deck, if you look anywhere in the direction that maybe you can see a corner out of your eye, they're calling the judge over. I'm talking about the assholes.
He was shuffling dirty.
I'm talking about the assholes that are like, oh my god, your sleeves are green and I wanted to play against white sleeves. These are the jerks I'm talking about.
When somebody's shuffling your cards and they do the dirty shuffle, do you get a little bit aroused?
A little bit. You know what I do? I actually sit back, I wipe my mustache off, and I go to town.
I'm 0% surprised by any of that, Roger.
So, but it seems to me like, especially with that, like, I get it at high levels. If you're at a Grand Prix, or you're at a Pro Tour, or you're at an event where actual prizes are on the line, be the douchebag. You have to be. There's too much money on the line not to be a douchebag. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, because you're going to be a millionaire playing Magic.
Here's what I'm not okay with. When you bring that douchiness to your local F&M, and I think as a player, that's what I see more that pisses me off, is when you bring that Grand Prix mentality to an F&M. Where the goal of an F&M,
the Grand Prix mentality is what's wrong with Magic the Gathering, though. Like, dude, it's for fucking fun. It's for fun.
But there's a difference between I'm playing my F&M where I'm going to win 8 packs if I'm lucky, and I'm going to win $5,000. When you're playing for $5,000, be a dick. I understand. You are playing for $5,000.
You don't have to be a dick when you're playing for $5,000.
Play the gotcha game. Do whatever you got to do to win. I get that.
So,
but how do you stop that douchiness from impacting a level where it is meant for new players? It is meant to grow the community.
Oh, that's one of the unfortunate downsides of Magic being as popular and as big as it is.
Having a competitive format is going to invite that into any format.
Yeah, competitive anything for any kind of game is going to invite that mentality. And the best thing we can do is address it at your local level. Probably the most gracious way to do it is just take the person aside after the fact
and break their fucking kneecaps.
No, I was
show them your junk.
not that either.
Okay.
Because most shops are family locations and don't want that.
I mean, take them in back and show
Show
them your
me junk? Yeah. I mean, where else are you going to take them
Just
back
say,
for?
hey, look at this. This is how you make
And
me
by
feel.
junk, we actually mean the deck junk. We don't mean your naughty bits.
Your genitalia.
You totally meant your naughty bits.
Nope, we meant the deck.
The deck, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But no, the first step was always to take the civil approach. Just take them aside after the fact and say, hey, you were being a little bit of a dick there. Like, I understand being competitive and wanting to win, but at the same time, we want to foster a
He's
community.
8.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the thing is that you're not getting old veterans in F&Ms that are doing like. So who does responsibility fall on? Do you think it falls on the judge, the store, or the actual community?
That's the community. Like if you've got the community at that point, and they're like, hey, Jimmy here is a real prick. Anytime we've got a newbie in, he's gonna take advantage of him. This, that, and the other. It's the community's job to say, hey man, you're being a dick. If you're gonna keep doing that, fucking don't show up, because nobody wants you here. And
Do you agree?
If they're that bad, yeah.
And then it falls on the shop after that.
But it's like I said, though, I'm one of those people. You always want to give someone the chance to rectify their mistake. That's just the way I see the world.
Like, my biggest fear is we saw Magic explode. What now?
Exponentially in the last couple.
Shards of Alara is when the player base doubled.
It was
It
that was
doubled.
7-8 years ago now.
And no one knows why. Wizards is like, we don't know what we did.
Well, no, I mean, okay, you had Lorwyn, which was an awesome block.
But you had awesome blocks before all this.
Lorwyn was ridiculous, and it was a good time to get in, because that's when I got back into Magic. As Shards of Alara released, like the day those cards released, I was like, I'm gonna get back into Magic now. I started playing. You had the Lorwyn block out that was awesome. Like Lorwyn and Future Sight were fun together, but Lorwyn and Shards together, it was fucking better, and it was good. Like you could.
You must not have had to play against fairies too often.
No. I played the shit out against some players. Oh my god, I can't even talk. I played against fairies and hated fairies as much as the next guy, but I mean, you could beat fairies.
But here's my fear. We saw it double. We don't know why it doubled.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Wizards is looking internally at changing some things on the Pro Tour, making it kind of a viable solution for you to actually make a living off of, which means the douchiness is going to grow exponentially. The problem is, when you have more douchebag players and more of that attitude of, I'm better than thou, I don't care about the newbies go away, and then the game gets stagnant and dies. Now, I'm not saying Magic's ever going to go away. That's not what I'm saying at all. But this huge player base we have is already starting to shrink.
Well, I think part of that's their bullshit rotating block, like standard being, that's the standard format. That's what people should want to play. When you've got a block, it's extreme, that rotates as often as it does, that does hike card value, and for somebody new getting into it, that's scary. Like, if it costs me $700 to build a viable standard deck so that I can get into it, there's no way in hell I'm really going to fuck with that.
Most newbie players aren't looking at it like that. Most newbie players are looking at, I'm going to build a deck, I'm going to have fun on a Friday night. The $700 players, the ones that are actually building decks like that, are the ones starting to go to the Grand Prix, go into the Pro Tour qualifiers,
Well, I mean,
and are kicking it up a lot.
I have to disagree with that, man, because like even when, again, I never played super competitively. Like I did play some competitive Magic. I still played it because I enjoyed the game and I wanted to have fun with it. And I played when Fairies and 5-color control, Turbo Fog, like all these bullshit decks were out. They were super fun to play against and they were fun to play. But the mentality that you're talking about wasn't there so much, and it was cheaper to build a deck. Like I built an artifact deck for Esper, obviously, because that's what was in at the time. That was completely viable. Like I could beat out some of these better decks with it, and I didn't have to spend $800 putting this deck together. And it was attractive to me. Like that's why I said that was such a good time to play, because you could play cheap and still do well.
Well, you know what also has happened since you stopped playing? Net decking has become a bigger thing.
Well, I mean, no, net decking was a thing then, though, because like,
yeah,
we would motherfuck people that would run Louis Scott Vargas's deck, because it's like, oh, he's running the fucking blue black fairy deck that Louis Scott Vargas ran at the last Pro Tour. That guy's a dick. Or he's running Turbo Fog. He just copied the deck list that just top 8'd or whatever. And
well, also though, anymore, a lot of your hyper competitive players actually aren't playing at the F&M level anymore because they don't feel that they're getting anything out of it because of the level of competition. A lot of them are traveling to various bigger events for the weekend or just don't feel it's worth their time.
So like at our local shop, I'm going to use the fantasy shop as an example.
Yeah.
We definitely had guys that would do any Pro Tour qualifier, anything like that they could do, and they were there every Friday night. Some of those guys, and again, not going to name drop or anything like that, would be total cunts to, sorry for that word, but they would be...
Are you really sorry for that
No,
word?
not really, but they would just be, it was downright nasty how they were to some of the other players and stuff like that, and it's like, dude, you're at a fucking draft.
Like, and those players aren't there anymore.
Well, but hold on.
Aren't they? They're not?
Not really.
Oh, okay, because I've not been in the scene for a minute, but
all
they
of
were
that's,
very there.
So all that's relevant. So what you're saying, Kevin, here's what I took away from that. The people that are being douchebags at F&Ms won't either need to shit or get off the pot. Either actually go play competitive Magic, put your money where your mouth is, man up or shut up, or chill the fuck out and play the game.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, so listen, if you are that douchebag on F&M, knock your shit off. You're going to kill the game, and whatever talent you think you have, you're squandering. Step up. Go play a game. Either be welcoming to the new players or move on. I think that is our biggest complaint.
Yeah.
Find
Absolutely.
your level and play your level.
Lose your elitist mentality if you're playing a Friday Night Magic.
Have fun. The entire point of this game is to have fun, and if you're not having fun playing Magic and you're being super competitive all the time and you're not having fun with it, stop playing the game.
Well, I mean, like even at the fantasy shop, we would have every Saturday. It was a Saturday Standard, little bitty tournament, and that was a really really good jumping on point for some new players. But we would have some of the douchey players that would always come to this event and treat these new kids like total crap, and it was really really frustrating. And it's like when you're running the shop, you can't really be like, hey.
Yeah, you
don't be a dick.
You don't want to refuse customers.
Exactly, but on that same note, you're just like, dude, this kid fucking played Friday Night Magic for the first time 2 weeks ago. I just gave the kid the intro pack that we're allowed to give people. Like, come on. Come on, let him play.
Real quickly, all right, I played a game way back in the day called Star Wars, done by Decipher.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best card games ever made. I was that little kid. I was 9, 10 years old when I went to my first tournament with my little starter deck, all set up, no frills, and I got my ass stomped. Like, just completely stomped. You know what happened at the end of the tournament?
Huh.
Everyone that got prizes took the 3 cards out of a pack that they wanted and gave the rest to me.
Well, no, we had dudes, even at the fantasy shop, that would do that for the noobs, and that was awesome.
And that's,
we still do.
And
yeah,
that's,
that's fantastic. Like, that's the stuff that the community needs. Like, we had a guy, Craig Hubner. I have seen Craig Hubner give away his prizes more times than I've seen him keep them.
Yeah, and that's what we need. We need more of that. So listen, you elitist douchebags that are winning all the prizes. Take your rare and pass the rest off. You don't need it. You've got 4. Just pass it off. Quit trying to make money off your prizes.
Some of the good shit too. Like,
yeah,
dude, you're gonna get like I'm gonna use a fetch land as an example. I understand that it's not really that big of a thing right now, but if you get a fetch land, you've got a play set, 2 play sets of them. Fucking float one to the noob.
I've passed fetch lands in drafts before.
Yeah, I mean give one to the noob. Like, let this kid get his hands on some gold so that you can have somebody to compete against in the future.
Exactly. If you want to actually get better at the game, make the noobs better. Take your F&M, make it competitive by making the new players better, but keep it fun.
Like at the fantasy shop, I would almost say we're spoiled because we have a wonderful community for the most part.
For the most part,
yeah.
Like I've seen people. New players open an expedition in Battle for Zendikar, not know what it was, and pass it, and the person next to him's like, hold on a second, you do not want to pass this. And the 2 times I've seen it happen there were with a Scalding Tarn and a Steam Vents.
So as a ref or something at an event like that, like, you don't really need a ref at an F&M. Like, it's good to have one, but it's not necessarily necessary.
Right.
If somebody's like, hey, wait, don't pass me this, because technically, that's kind of breaking the rules a little bit.
But it's okay.
It should be. It should be. I agree with you. But how do you, like, because you're going to have somebody at some point in time scoff at that. No. He already passed the cards. Take it. Let this noob fucking deal with it.
Do you know what I do at that point? I draft the expedition at the end of the draft. I go, here, don't put it in your deck.
Okay.
You know, as the noob. Okay, if Kevin passes me an expedition, I'm taking it hands down.
Yeah, no,
Roger, I'm not going to pass an expedition.
The 15-year seasoned vet here, the level 1 ref.
The
10-year-old
kid who's spending his allowance to play this draft can get that $200 card back because he's going to come back and draft with that money and keep playing and get better. And that is my problem. I think right there is the competitive douchebags are making it harder for younger players to get in.
And they forget what it was like to start.
Obviously.
That's why I always try and remind people, especially when I'm talking to a newer player, we were all new once. We know what it was like.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, here's what we've established. I want to make this abundantly clear. Douchebags that play F&M, knock your shit off. Douchebags that don't play at F&Ms and do Grand Prix, keep doing what you're doing. You be your little douchey baggy self, and when I see it at Grand Prix, I'll gladly take you down. Or lose to you in an epic fashion. It doesn't matter to me.
It really doesn't.
So, breaking from the community because people are going to think we hate the Magic community and a wonderful game.
We don't.
We
just hate that one extreme.
We do hate that one extreme.
We hate that one extreme in a casual format.
Yeah.
That one extreme is okay in the appropriate place, but you should still, like, even if you're playing at a competitive level, play to have fun. Like, it's fun to play Magic.
Like, that's what I like to do, but for me, Magic will always just be a fun game. Like, I played in a Grand Prix and ended up finishing in the money, and I was still trying to have a conversation with all my opponents. Like, hi, where are you from? What do you like to do when you're not playing? Stuff like that.
Do you want to go get pizza later?
When was your first time playing a Grand Prix qualifier or a regionals at the Fantasy Shop?
Probably shortly after I moved to St. Louis, a little over 3 years ago.
Okay. There was a gentleman very much like yourself at the first regionals that I did, and I had built a black-white deck, but it wasn't black-white tokens.
Mm-hmm.
It was predominantly, you had Tight Hollow Scholars in there, because again, this was with Shards of Alar and Lorwyn. So it was black-white, and you were just using trigger abilities, because there were a bunch of Lorwyn cards that got bonuses for black.
You're just using the value cards.
Exactly. It was a really fun deck to play with, not a super competitive deck. It got trounced, and at the end of the match with this dude who was playing fairies and raped me, he was like, hey, that was a really cool deck. Thank you for playing that here. He's like, that was really refreshing. It was very different. It was a lot of fun. And, like, having somebody that was awesome at Magic and kicking my butt do something like that meant a lot to me as somebody that was getting back into it and trying to get into the competitive scene at that point. And it was awesome. And that's why I asked when you got here, because I was like, it could have been you. I don't remember. It's been 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah, at that time I was still in college, so.
Okay, be good to the new people, assholes.
Yeah, be good to the new people.
What's new right now? Like, what should we be excited about with Magic?
Well, I mean, as Roger mentioned earlier, it's spoiler season starting tomorrow, and so that means a whole new set of cards, all kinds of crazy new interactions.
This is Eldritch Moon, right? The second set in the Return to Innistrad block?
Yes.
Okay. So, I'm looking at one of the new big cards right now. I'm just going to tell you what it is. It's a 13/13 for 13. So 1 mana for one for power toughness. And I'm going to read the description to you guys. This card costs 1 less to cast for each card type among cards in your graveyard. When you cast this card, you can gain control of target opponents during that player's next turn. After that turn, that player takes an extra turn. It has flying, trample, and protection from instants. Obvious, and the little flavor text, an enigma as vexing as life itself. This is a mythic rare.
Why are you just slow rolling us?
I am. Okay, it's Emrakul. Emrakul showed up in Innistrad, and first, I hate it. I hate the fact that Emrakul's in Innistrad. I know we all called it when BFZ came out, but it seems lame.
Well, I think part of it, what they're doing is they're trying to get to a more story-driven, creative process for making the cards, which I'm okay with. And they also want it to show up in Standard while it has access to a lot of the colorless matters stuff from the Battle for Zendikar block.
I get that, but here's where Emrakul needed to end up. He needed to go to New Phyrexia and beat the shit out of little infect creatures so I can get Mirrodin back. That's what needed to happen. I don't need him and Lily gangbanging each other. This is hentai right here. A sexy Lily and Emrakul, that's hentai. Now, Emrakul and Koth teaming up, totally okay with that. But what do you think about this card? Like, it seems, to me, it's okay. Like a 13/13 for 13 or 9. I mean, 9 or 8 is pretty powerful.
Yeah.
The giving my opponent an extra turn.
Interesting trade-off, but there's going to be a combo for that.
And what's interesting is there's actually a change to the rules coming up that has to deal with this card.
Hold on. What?
Yes, they're actually making a change to the rules that affects how this card works.
All right.
Shoot.
Starting with Eldritch Moot, if you can do something through game actions and control your opponent's turn, you can no longer look at their sideboard.
Oh.
Really?
Really?
Okay, you know what? I thought I was going to hate this when you said a new rule. You shouldn't have access to their sideboard during a game. They don't.
Well, actually, in the rules, it says you can look at your sideboard in-game as long as you're not taking time away from the game to do so.
So why are they changing the rules?
I'm not really sure. I think it's mostly to cut down on lengthy note-taking and just pretty much to take a bunch of time off of competitive tournaments. Kind of why Second Sunrise is banned in Modern, because it was adding literal hours to tournaments because of that stupid deck.
So, hold on. So I can't look at your sideboard no more. I'm okay with this. I'm okay with keeping a little bit of surprise.
But what makes that interesting, though, say you force your opponent to cast one of the Wish cards.
I can't look at their sideboard to grab what out of their side. Ooh.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. But, okay, I get I can't just pick up their sideboard and look at it. But I'm casting a Wish card. The card says, look through sideboard, pick a card.
I know.
How does that work?
I'm not sure.
Oh, so you don't know.
So the level 1 judge has no clue what's going to happen when he comes across this.
It's one of those things, it's been exposed that the rule is changing, but that doesn't mean all the nuances have been trickled down yet.
Okay, so, but ultimately, like with Magic, what's on the card, the text on the card dictates the rules at the time, right?
Actually, some cards have actually had their rules text changed. Some changes are minor, but it's what's the official Oracle text of the card is what you pretend is printed on it. Like some of the older cards mention rules that no longer exist, like mana burn, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It just has been errated to not include. Other cards have had creature type changes, especially when we hit about Lorwyn block when they did the grand update to the current race class system for most cards.
I don't know why they got to make this a race issue.
Yeah, why is it got to be about race? Come on, Watsy, get with the times.
No, what I mean by the race class is, like, for most creatures, they have a racial creature type.
Yeah, we know what you mean, racist. We get you.
Yeah.
We understand.
And a class.
Right. Oh, now it's a class struggle.
Yeah, you know.
So it's a race. So
you're poor, and I
a
don't
race.
like what you are.
Okay. So really, Magic represents the political turmoil we see.
Yes.
All right, I got you.
I think you guys are both nuts, but that's beside the point.
And this game has gotten really intense now. So I can't look at your opponents. I can't look at the opponent's sideboard anymore on their turn. I have a feeling though they're going to retcon that rule to explain that wishes are okay because it's part of the casting of the card.
Right. Or it could just be that you make them wish and fail to find.
And let's be honest here, hold on. Like, no one in Legacy is going to play this card.
Right.
And it's a 13/13 for 13. They don't care that you can force a will. You're not playing this card in Legacy. And you can't, can you wish in Modern?
Yeah.
Oh, well, fuck, I need to make a new deck.
There's a wish in Modern. Glittering Wish.
Oh, never mind, I don't care. Don't care. And then there's a second card I wanted to talk about real quick. We have a new Thalia out. She is actually really cool looking. That art is amazing. It's a white and 2 colorless, 3/2 first strike. Creatures and non-basic lands your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. That seems interesting.
Nice control card.
I've been on the white weenie bandwagon since I've started playing Magic, so forever now. And there's always been little bits and pieces that I look at, and this is one of those cards that I'm like, this is a white weenie staple.
Oh, yeah.
This is a card you want in white weenie decks.
Modern, you're going to love this.
But how do you think this is going to fare in, just standard?
In standard, I think it'll probably see a pretty good amount of play because there's actually a relatively high number of non-basic lands that are seeing a lot of play in standard right now. And also, for the most part, standard's typically a fairly creature-driven format. So, standard, sure, I can almost guarantee it's going to see a lot of play. Older formats, however, like Modern and Legacy, it becomes a lot sketchier because for those formats, original Thalia is just overall so much better. Sure, it's possible that decks will run both, but I think this new Thalia will most likely be a sideboard card at best in those decks.
See, and here I was thinking, I'm like, man, that's a fucking super control card for Modern. That would be so much fun to play.
It would hit red deck wins. It would slow Eldrazi down.
It would slow Eldrazi down.
Because the first Thalia doesn't stop you from casting colorless creatures, does it?
No.
So it doesn't really hurt Eldrazi at all.
Well, the original Thalia doesn't affect creatures at all. It affects non-creature spells.
Oh, yeah.
Does that affect Tron, though? Does this new one affect Tron?
Yeah.
Boom.
Suck it, Tron!
But not every matchup. It's also a 3-mana 3/2. In Modern, that's going to die to just about every single piece of removal that's going to see play.
I kill it with Lightning Bolt.
Path Exile, whatever.
Whatever. It's a thing.
I can see it as a sideboard card in your Death and Taxes and your Hate Bears type lists.
Who plays Death and Taxes?
But I just don't see many decks mainboarding it over original Thalia at all.
Do you think it's going to be a standard staple?
Well, it's a very game-impacting ability in standard. Yes.
Okay. Of the two cards that we just mentioned, which one do you think will shape the format more? Thalia or Emrakul?
Thalia.
Thalia.
Without a doubt.
Okay.
I mean, that Thalia basically shuts down Emrakul.
Well, sort of.
No, the reason I think Thalia is going to have more of an impact on standard than Emrakul is since it's a 3-drop versus a, let's be honest, an 8 to 10 drop.
Yeah.
Thalia is going to be cast a whole lot more often. Now, the exception to this would be if we get some kind of polymorph effect in standard again. At that point, then I think it probably actually shifts to Emrakul because polymorph decks have always loved big stupid things to polymorph into.
So do you foresee the possibility of maybe some polymorphing going on, coming out in this new set? Do you think it makes sense with the current storyline and everything that Wizards is running?
I mean, it's one of those things, the actual card polymorph is generic enough that they could reprint it in pretty much any set they wanted to. Whether or not they will, realistically probably not, but they could.
It could be done. Fair enough.
So, let me ask you this question. When you're looking at, standard now, because I don't play standard, Chris doesn't play Magic much anymore, what are the decks that you're seeing actually doing well right now, and do you think that they're going to continue with the limited amount of spoils that we have for the new Eldritch Moon?
Well, we have, less than 10 out of 200 cards spoiled so far?
Yeah.
So, at this point, it's all speculation, because...
We'll speculate away.
Well, because we could get cards that completely change the format, because right now, Standard is actually very healthy for Standard.
For the first time since I've been playing.
It's an expensive Standard, but it's still a healthy Standard, because there are roughly 5 or 6 top decks, so to speak, that could win on any given day.
And those would be?
Well, so you've got your black-white control variants. You're always going to have Coco decks and formats that have access to it because that card's just value. The hyper aggressive red deck took a beating with rotation, but it's still out there. It's just not nearly as prevalent because losing Hordeling Outburst and Monastery Swiftspear were huge.
That's because red decks never will go away.
Exactly. Like, they're always there.
Speaking of stuff that'll never go away, Wizards released 2 weeks ago their new Master set, Eternal Masters. We touched base on this a little bit in episode 3.
Briefly, yeah.
And I wanted to bitch. And I mean, I really, really want to bitch about this set. To me, it seems like the Master sets are all about throwing out those big money cards and getting these players' hopes up about packing amazing cards, and you just don't see it. It's like to me, I've seen one Jace popped out of this Eternal Master set, where I remember back in the day, Jaces were being popped a dime a dozen.
Let me ask you this: for your Modern Masters boxes that you bought from the original Modern Masters.
Oh, it was the same way.
Was it?
I had one box. We were trying to open the store back then, so we got a lot of Modern Masters. I got one box that was insane. It was just value after value, but every other box was just meh. Now,
part of that is because those sets are designed to A, get reprints of various staple cards back out there, and B, the set as a whole is designed to be drafted. So there are cards that are included just for the limited environment. Like, it might be an absolutely amazing card in limited, but financially speaking, it's 50 cents to $1 at the most.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
I'm okay with.
we touched on that a little bit.
I am okay with Eternal Masters being a draft set. That's what it's meant to be, and fucking make it go. What I'm not okay with is I'm running down trying to open a Force of Will, or I'm running down just trying to get a Mind Sculptor. Like, to me, it seems like those cards that we get uber excited about in the community are just there to sell packs. Because, let's be honest, like one Mind Sculptor...
Let's be honest, they are.
Okay, then fuck it. Just throw them out there in a regular set.
Well,
Ooh.
some of them are... Some of them are cards that WotC does not want in certain formats, especially Standard and Modern.
Oh, I mean, yeah, like a Jace the Mind Sculptor in Standard.
Would be awesome. I played it.
I know you did.
I was around.
And everybody fucking raged about that card, and it got banned.
It did. It didn't get banned because of it by itself. It got banned because Cobblade was a thing. My thing is this: they do it as limited runs, and they always come up with the excuse of we're trying to make it to where these cards are easily accessible for new players to get into, but they cut the print run so limited that the prices don't really drop. Like Jace is down to $70, which is nice because he was $100, but he's still $70.
Well, part of it's also with more copies of these various cards available, you have more players trying to get into the respective formats. Like, for example, when the first Modern Masters hit, Modern player base, by most estimates, didn't double, it tripled to quadrupled.
Which is good. Modern's an amazing format.
Very much so.
But you're still paying $150 for a Tarmogoyf. It didn't help their original goal. So why don't they just go ahead and you can maybe attest to this.
Print it hard.
Yeah, why don't they print these Masters as a regular print run?
Do you think they also consider the secondary market? Because do you think they don't want to totally fuck the guys that already have it?
If they had no care whatsoever about the secondary market, they would abolish the reserve list.
Which there's always grumblings about them doing.
Which, let's be honest, it's not going to happen.
Ever. Because who wants to play with Ante again? I mean, I do. But most people don't. But do you think that should be one of their goals? I mean, we're just spitting to the wind here, but how about actually doing a master set with a full print run instead of this, here's 100 boxes, have fun?
Good luck.
Well, part of it's also they're trying to strike a fine balance between.
Stop defending them.
No, I'm just I'm trying to explain where they're coming from.
I get it.
Like they want to make the product and they want it to sell, sure, but at the same time, they have to do that. They have to put cards in it that people are going to want to buy.
But do you think they I guess more so the question here is should they put so few in there? Because if I knew there was a higher chance of me getting that Jace or whatever that I happen to want, I'm more likely to buy the cards. But since we know how this shapes out, do you think that ultimately hurts them in their business model?
Well, and I think part of it also has to way back when they did printed, I think it was Fallen Empires. They overprinted the crap out of that set.
But hold on. The reason they overprinted Fallen Empires was because of game stores. That was totally game stores' fault that set got printed so heavily, because that was the first set that Wizards released with the print number that stores were ordering. Before that, stores would order 10 boxes and they'd only get 5. So I mean that's not really Wizards' fault for actually doing what the stores wanted them to do. That's kind of both their faults. They kind of shit the bed on that. But we're talking about a set with valuable cards that aren't going to plummet. They're not going to bottom out for $5 a pop if they did a standard run. I mean, my thing is that with these master sets, they're a flash in the pan. You get them heavy for 2 weeks, and then it's dry. And then you're paying $30 a pack for them. Mm-hmm. So if they did a standard, it doesn't have to be a year run. Let's actually just up it to where it's a 6-month print run. You're gonna get the market. They're gonna keep selling because everyone wants the Mind Sculptors. Everyone wants the Force of Wills. Everyone wants these cards. Do you think that would encourage and help grow that legacy or that community with what have you?
It's definitely a possibility, but it's also one of those things. I'm not an economist, nor do I ever want to be. But
he's just a level 1 judge.
Yeah, we put a lot of strain on Kevin today.
No, and it's fine. There are things that there is very much a viable financial market involved with Magic the Gathering. I particularly have zero interest in partaking of the financial aspect of the game, but there are people who do, and
I hear there's a creature here called Ogre that does.
No, there's a lot of... Star City is one of them. That's a big one. There's a lot of stores that depend on the secondary market. But my argument is... My thesis is this. Printing more Eternal Masters is not going to hurt the secondary market. Not the way people think. And Wizards, to be fair, the only reason Wizards cares about the reserve list is a lot of those cards should never be reprinted. A lot of them should never have been printed. And they're really for the actual collectors that have been around for as long, or not longer, than you have. Mm-hmm. So, the mission statement of Master Sets is to get powerful cards, expensive cards, into players' hands, and it just seems like they failed.
See, it's one of those things, like, Eternal Masters, actually hasn't been nearly as bad as it has been with the 2 Modern Master sets, because the aim for Eternal Masters is a lot more along the lines of Legacy and Vintage, and then some really sweet Commander cards. Whereas the Modern Master sets were specifically geared towards Modern, which has seen, like I said earlier, the player base for Modern, with the first Modern Masters, somewhere between tripled and quadrupled.
So basically what you're saying, Kevin, is you support WotC and everything they do.
You are a sheep.
You are a sheep.
What I'm saying is, WotC does these print runs,
Kevin's
which
like, I'm never coming
in
back.
turn create a higher demand because more people are trying to get into the format.
So we agree then. Print them long and print them hard.
I'm okay with this.
All right.
But I just don't think it's going to solve the problem nearly as much as you think it will.
I'm not saying it would. I would just like to be able to go into a store right now and buy a pack of Eternal Masters for less than $20. And it's getting really hard to find now because pretty much everyone's getting sold out, and it's only been 2 weeks.
A lot of places are sitting, if they have them, they're sitting around 12 a pack.
So that was our obligatory Magic episode, everybody.
Thank you for tuning in. Stay classy.
Hey, and make sure you hit up our Facebook page, our website. We're going to put a section up there eventually. Ask the judge a question. And if you have any questions about Magic or any of the games
they've already told me. They're going to send it my way.
All his way.
Level 1 judge, guys.
Level 1. We might even get a level 2 if we can scrum one of them out of the basements for a minute. Kevin, we appreciate you stopping by and chit-chatting with us for a little bit. It was a pleasure to have you.
Guys, go to your local game shop. Play some Magic.
Shuffle some cards.
Have a good time, and don't be that guy.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. This has been Chris.
I'm Roger.
And I'm Kevin. Thanks for having me, guys.